So ladies and gentlemen, every now and then a game arrives that actually makes you learn something. Maybe it'll be some sort of skill, maybe you'll learn some way to deal with, I don't know, a different control scheme. Maybe you just flat out learn that you'd be terrible if you were actually a snake. Let's check out this game, shall we? Snake Pass is a collectathon 3D platformer in which you must traverse various levels as the Snake Noodle and his bird buddy Doodle. This game is completely different from every single game I've ever played in this genre, however, as the general platforming isn't performed via the use of jumping. Instead, you must traverse through the levels through the use of Noodle's body, utilizing it to weave in and out of poles while also slithering around from left to right to pick up speed. The whole concept of this game is definitely a new take on platforming as a whole, as you must essentially work out the best way to maneuver through each area, and essentially getting to where you want is a puzzle in and of itself to solve. Littered throughout the course of the game's 15 levels are a number of collectibles that you must find. Every single stage has 3 major MacGuffins to pick up in the form of gate keys, in order to open up the exit, with various orbs and coins littered throughout as well. Collecting the 3 gate keys is the only mandatory part of the game. However, going out of your way to collect everything else can be a pretty damn rewarding and also potentially extremely fun challenge. The game as a whole is pretty much entirely physics based. This means you will usually find situations where you will need to think about Noodle's weight, such as in windy areas, which could potentially cause you to fall off platforms. And you need to make sure that you utilize his grip to help, but not guarantee you from slipping off things. To help with this is Doodle, which at the press of a button can come to your aid at any time, and help pick you up by your tail to alleviate some of the weight that can possibly drag you down. The levels themselves are exceptionally well designed and filled with decent challenges to overcome, which is especially important here as the game offers pretty much no enemies to fight. It is strictly a passive title that emphasizes exploration and puzzle solving with no combat mechanics whatsoever. In fact, the only times in this game you will ever find yourself dying is either from bottomless pits, spike traps, or lava pits, and in the instance of lava pits, you even get the chance to get out before it kills you. And truth be told, I'm okay with this, especially considering the unique control scheme present here. Adding combat would have very likely overcomplicated things, and the game is clearly trying to be about the world in general, and just generally working out how to progress through each of the stages. Hell, you don't even take fall damage from falling off of high platforms, which you can potentially use to your advantage to get to certain areas quickly. Graphically, the game is absolutely gorgeous, with Noodle being a standout part of things. His design is simply adorable, and I love seeing his happy face light up whenever I collect an item. And clearly the developers knew that Noodle was adorable too, because you can even go out of your way to change his expressions with the press of a button on the D-pad. Basically, the art here is just bursting full of character, with Noodle actively reacting to what happens in the world around him. For example, getting scared while he's hanging above pits or falling from distances, etc, etc. The game's soundtrack is also spot on and extremely relaxing to listen to as you progress throughout, which honestly wasn't too much of a surprise to me considering the legend himself, David Wise, the man responsible for the likes of Donkey Kong Country, was the main mind behind the soundtrack. However, this game is indeed not perfect and has 2 major things that I myself take issue with: the controls themselves and the camera. More specifically in regards to the controls, my issue lies at the beginning few hours of the game, when you find yourself initially adjusting to them. I constantly found myself falling off ledges and failing to wrap around objects consistently, which caused the first few hours of playing to be an extremely frustrating experience. Although, eventually, the controls sort of clicked with me, and I did find myself mostly doing everything I wanted whenever possible, with exceptions here and there, where I swear I did things correctly, but they just flat out didn't work. Although, this is still very likely due to personal error. However, after the controls clicked, the level started becoming much more relaxing, And while there were occasional areas where I failed to do simple actions over and over and over, making what otherwise would be pretty fun and relaxing into a stressful experience, I still enjoyed. The camera also doesn't help in this regard, as I essentially found myself fighting with it the entire game, and struggled to get it in places where I really wanted to be at consistently, which is an issue I very rarely find in games these days, or in general really, even games with notoriously bad cameras I don't usually get this much issue with. It's kind of weird to me. Ultimately, Snake Pass is an absolutely brilliant game through and through. It is one of the most unique platformers I've ever played, featuring really well done level design, fantastic soundtrack through and through, but it is a little bit frustrating. Well, I say a little bit, I was really frustrated while playing through the game myself, and as a result, I can't recommend the game to anyone. My recommendation basically depends on one of two things. Basically, one, if you find yourself being a patient player of games and you're able to not get frustrated easily and you're able to take your time and learn how a game works, then I recommend this game to you wholeheartedly. However, if you are the type of person who gets really frustrated with games and you get really frustrated with learning new mechanics, you just can't get to grips of certain things every now and then, I don't recommend this game. It's definitely a frustrating time. Brilliant, but the difficulty curve is there, so you know, it all entirely depends on you. If you find yourself to be frustrated easily, this is one of those games you should probably avoid. But if you're patient enough and if you enjoy learning new mechanics, enjoying new stuff, new unique ideas, this is definitely the game for you. But with that, that's it for the review, so thank you all for watching, hope you all enjoyed, don't be sheepish people, and I'll catch you all again. Bye!